Good afternoon, everybody. See people are still joining. Give us a minute or two here to get everybody connected. Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday. While we're waiting for people to join, go ahead and drop your name and where you're coming from in the chat. Especially if you're new, let us know if you're new. It's great to see new people in the meeting. Hi, Rick. Hi, Lori. Great to see both of you today. All right, looks like we're getting quite a few people joining in. Hello, Jennifer and Jim and Kevin. It's always great to see all these people coming from such different areas of the country and sometimes beyond. So welcome everybody. Okay. I am going to kick us off here. Albert,
Hey,
do I
Rich.
need do I need to hit record, or is it already doing that in the background?
I already see it recording. And Rich, you let me know. I've got the deck on my side as well. If it's helpful for me to share screen, you just tell me where I can help.
Okay, I think I can do the share screen, but thank you. Um, It's not showing it as recording on my end. That's why I just was asking the question. So,
Oh, I see it recording.
okay, great. Okay, let's get started here. We are um, we are in our fourth meeting of the Readiness and Adoption Committee since we have moved into phase 3. Does that seem possible? Um, keeps moving and moving. Welcome everybody to this fourth meeting. My name is Rich Oppenheim, co-lead of this committee. I'm the Administrative Services Manager for Regional Government Services. My co-lead is Saher Noor from City of Detroit, and Albert is here helping us facilitate as always, and always very helpful. And we also have today Sabra Schneider, who is our board sponsor. And I'll get a little bit more into that later in the presentation. So thank you for joining us today. Looking forward to hearing from you today as well, Sabra. So we have, this is what's up on our agenda today. We're moving through our welcome and introduction section now. We're going to do a little bit of discussion about just our overall committee objectives and key results. I thought as we were sort of getting centered into this phase 3, it'd be nice to circle back to this group around sort of the things that we are hoping to accomplish through this working group. And sort of put some of those pieces together. And then, as always, we will move through project updates and give our different projects a chance to update us and let us know how things are going. And we'll follow up with just some of our ongoing action items that we have with every meeting. Um, So just wanted to talk a little bit about phase 3. As you know, phase 3 has shifted what we were doing before. We had an education working group and a policy working group and a couple of other working groups. In phase 3, that has been consolidated into a readiness and adoption committee. It was the adoption committee before, if I remember right. Now it's readiness and adoption with a focus on AI education and training, but also incorporating the policy work that Saher was doing into this committee overall committee work as well. So um, it's, a bit of a consolidation there as we move into phase 3. And I wanted to bring this up just to show this to everybody that's in the working group and spend some time looking at this just to show sort of what we're working towards, some of our high level objectives here in this working group. Obviously, we're helping to deliver foundational AI training for local government staff. That would be, helping us identify key stakeholder groups that would benefit from foundational AI training, curating and developing a fundamentals of AI and local government training syllabus, offering a fundamentals of AI training, and then having a quarterly introductory webinar for new members. So this is sort of turning this group inward, helping us develop an introductory webinar for new members to get started in the coalition, how they can access resources and connect with committees. I think Sahar covered that a little bit last meeting, but these are all things that we're trying to accomplish with this first objective. Our other objective is really where we've been putting a lot of our focus in since we started this committee, is educating public sector staff for responsible and effective AI in their specific context. So really diving into sector specific training modules like AI for fire professionals, AI for CISOs, specific sector specific things that are going to help people implement AI in their agencies. And then developing specific sector-specific modules and toolkits. We're trying to get to at least 5 that we want to accomplish before the end of the year. So that's something we've been moving towards, and we have had some success already. Those are things that we're really trying to move forward. And also, as you heard in our last meeting, partnering with the Center for Democracy and Technology, creating educational material for elected officials. And Quinn, who I think is on the call, did a presentation about that in the last meeting and got some feedback from the group. So that's our objective 2. And then our objective 3 is to collaborate with existing government-focused consortiums. We can't build this all by ourselves. So looking at how we can partner with other government bodies, nonprofits, academia, and industry professionals to help us build these resources and create some synergy around what we're trying to accomplish with the working group. So we're really trying to align an existing body with each release training project. Like Jim for his fire has been working with some national fire industries and working with Fire Engineering, which is a reputable, I believe, and Jim can correct me, it's a reputable fire magazine or fire resource for people. And so working with them to help us, validate content, get their sign on, get their help promoting the training. So we're really looking at how we can collaborate with, agencies outside local government to support us. And then evaluating and refreshing AI toolkits developed for local government sectors. Like this is like distributing potentially a how to evaluate for AI fact sheets toolkit and syncing with industry relations, surveying the coalition on usage of tools and maybe getting some broad feedback, and then soliciting feedback from at least 5 pilot agencies to refine and validate toolkit improvements. So these are the things that we hope will ground our efforts through the year, help give us some focus and help give us some momentum as well. And Albert, I don't know if these are shareable with this group or if we can put our specific slide in our Readiness and Adoption Committee for the group.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is just on me and my team. We'll be publishing these. These were approved by the board. We'll be publishing these on our website this week. So
Oh, great.
yeah.
Great timing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Albert. So again, on the slide deck here, these are our 4 buckets. Also, I wanted to share because Albert and I have been sort of building this resource out, and this is in our education folder. It's just a place for us to say, here are the main trainings we're working on. Here's the sort of what we think is the prime focus. who are the people that are helping us lead this, so that we can keep track of everything on our plates. And as you can see, our plate keeps growing, which is great. That's what we want to see in this committee. We want to see lots of activity and lots of groups working towards helping us educate local government employees around AI usage. So these are all in various stages, as you know, from our project check-ins, but this is the centralized place that we start keeping and thinking about this information. So we will keep populating this and keep updating this as these groups move forward. But this is called Education Proposals. It's a shared spreadsheet in the education folder that you can access and look at these. And if if you're ever thinking, I'm ready to join a group or I'm really ready to get involved, this could be a good place to dive in and see if there's something that aligns with your interest, or if you see something that's not on here, or you think of something that you don't see on this list and you're really interested in it, that's a proposal that you could push forward to us and say, I want to create a group around this, or I want to like move forward on this idea that I have that I don't see on the list. So, this is a great resource for everybody in the working group. Albert, do you want to chime in on anything for this slide?
I'll just highlight, echo what Rich said, right? All of these trainings just come from some group or some folks saying, hey, this is where I need training, or this is where I need to train my folks. And we work together and we make that group happen. You get to serve the training that you need for your personal team, and we also get to share that with everyone else, and we all become better because of it. Um, and Rich, I'll just highlight, whether it be in this meeting or in any of the follow-ups, we have the ability to do breakout rooms. So if we ever want to break people out and have them, take a bit of time working session here, you just let me know and I can set that up.
Great. So what that would look like is that we might do an overview and then give these groups that have formed some time in the meeting to work forward on their specific projects. Is that how that works, Albert?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've seen that happen in the use cases committee, right? Where they sort of break and go in to their working groups. So, okay, great. Thank you. And Sabra, I know you're on the call today. Anything you want to add or highlight on what I've covered here?
Nothing that I want to add. I thought you did a great job. Just I'm really excited to be joining this group and trying to get more engaged in your work. So also happy to help with any of the initiatives, and very appreciative of the work of Rich and Albert and Sahir. So thank you.
Great. And I see your name is actually Sabra, so I want to make sure I get that pronunciation right. Thank you, Albert.
Don't worry. Everybody always gets it wrong. And I'm happy to answer to both. So no worries on that front.
Okay, great. And just I wanted to open this up to the rest of the group. I know we haven't, this is the first time we're sort of sharing these objectives and key results and the training roadmap. Any feedback from the group on our collective activity here, or anything that anybody from the group wants to add? Raise your hand or unmute and share.
Hey, Richard.
Hi, Len.
Hey, Albert. Awesome to have clear guidance and leadership from the top down. Um, One quick question from my interaction with our group, the upskilling group, comes with one question for you. So far, I think our group's identified goals are very much aligned with what the Readiness and Adoption Committee has identified here. My quick question is, if our working group with also which is led by local governments has some goals or initiatives that that may be aligned with this, but might be a little bit different. In another way of thinking of this is that what's the committee's policy about bottoms up ideas and innovations? How would the committee want that handled?
Well, Albert, you want to answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, look, that just sounds like what the coalition does left and right. I mean, right? That's you know what I mean? Len, I know what you're right. I know what you're working on. I know what you're talking about, right? I'll the only thing I'll just say is you know, what, and correct me if I'm wrong, the working group that you've put together for this is really like the like AI upskilling for, you know, general government slash nonprofit worker number 17. And I say that is as like an incredibly valuable asset because that pairs really well with the sector specific training that a lot of our folks are working on. And so when I think about like making sure that they all meld together, I think the only thing is just you know, as we're putting stuff together in the upskilling working group, that we just like share it with this group because I know uh we're all, there's a certain amount of foundational stuff that Rich and I have already talked about that if we can just streamline that part, that'd be great. So
Thanks.
Right. Anybody else have any comments before we keep moving through our other updates? Not seeing anything. But raise your hand if you have any questions or concerns or have any ideas or thoughts for us moving forward. So Lan, I've been carving out some space in this Readiness and Adoption Committee to give Lan and Rick a chance to update us on their efforts because a lot of what they're doing is very closely aligned with what we're building out here in the larger Readiness and Adoption Committee. And wanted to keep giving them space in this meeting to get us updated and talk about what they're doing. I pulled the same placeholder slide. Alana didn't have a chance to grab some new bullets from you ahead of this meeting, but I was wondering if you or Rick had any updates that you wanted to share with the group about what you've been doing with upskilling.
Oh, wonderful. Rick,
Yeah,
speak up.
sure. I'll jump in because we had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and unfortunately, our next meeting was scheduled on the holiday that's coming up on Monday. So we're likely to move the next meeting to Tuesday. But the goal right now is we've drafted a SMART goal around what we call collaborative upskilling with academic rigor. So one of the differences that Len was alluding to is that that we're looking at larger training beyond this sort of 1 day, 4 to 10 hour type of thing, or specifically for a sector, but more just letting people have a pathway where they can become real AI experts at more of a deep level of learning that is more aligned with things like apprenticeships as a deeper model. And we think there's a real great role for that in government because government is there's a deep interest at the federal level to see more apprenticeships happening in government that transcends from the Biden administration to the Trump administration. So it's not strictly apprenticeships. I mean, we're really looking at best practices across the nation of what people are doing to train their teams that when they want to go deep like that. And so we've got a SMART goal that we're going to be socializing. We're going to start using the adoption support Slack channel within our team to get some community going on that between meetings. And we're also going to have SMART goals drafted for the staff literacy playbook and practitioner continuous learning and certification.
Great. And when you envision continuous learning and certification, what does that look like? Is that something that you anticipate that we would, like the coalition would be building out, or something that we would be curating more, like
I think it's
helping?
going to be more curation. I mean, we're already seeing some really nice work, for instance, in Coral Gables with what they're doing, and they have a full pipeline of different offerings that have already been tested and proven, and so that's kind of baseline. And what we want to do is the Land's done a great job of bringing in people from other parts of the country, and we would just want to have people put an eye on that program and then put an eye on their own programs and put those out there and then see what makes the most sense. And then we'd work with you guys to agree on the final curation piece of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. I love that idea. Great, thanks, Rick. And any feedback from the group about the upskilling effort? Anybody interested? It seems like they may be still looking for. Are you still looking for new members, Rick and Lon?
We'll take new members. And basically, each of the things needs contributors, and so we have some contributors identified for 2 of the 3 initiatives right now. And but getting a few more people at the table that they can watch what we've done. I think once we have the Slack channel, it'll be easier for people to plug in. But if anybody's interested, they can certainly contact Lan and join.
Great. So if anybody's listening and looking at this slide and what they're trying to focus on, if you're interested, throw your name in the chat, raise your hand in the chat, raise your hand, send us a follow-up email after the meeting. I'll do a meeting summary. You can respond to that if you want. But very interested to see how this evolves and aligns with what we're trying to do. Jim, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, just a quick question. I mean, I love the idea of the playbook and the having a practical application. Were they thinking along the lines of a task book where there's actual practical sign-offs in order to get through quote unquote certification?
If I may just try to understand you a little better, to add to, I'll answer one example with the certification, for example, that is readily available at 0 cost to members. So we can continue to make such available, and the learning environment will be able to manage the members' membership in that environment through, for example, right now there's a nonprofit that can make this happen. So that's one way of it happening. Does that answer your question, Jim?
Yeah, so the management is in the learning management system there, as opposed to, I guess what I keyed in on was the mentorship part of it. And if there is going to be like a mentorship, would there then be like a task book where there's practical sign-offs to say, yes, I have actually observed this person doing X, Y, Z, and observing best practices. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. That I love this question so much, Jim. That is exactly also another initiative that's happening and is going through beta. So the mentors and the learners' experience is also recorded, and the feedback for each other is recorded. And so the record is available to the learners and mentors to leverage, kind of build up to the next step on a ladder, so to speak.
And basically assessment, I mean, anything that becomes a formal credential we actually would like to have degree alignment as well as a broader goal, where people can get credit for college credit for the type of things that they might be learning in these more extensive programs. Any of that would be under the same assessment standards of those credentials. And that's actually something that, for instance, the Coral Gables program offers. I would really encourage you to jump on when you see the Slack, any Slack messages around this group in the adoption support room. Please chime in with that sentiment, because I think it would be really good to have other people from the group responding to that and ensuring that we capture that properly in our structure.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Lon and Rick. And I don't know if you saw in the chat, but it looks like Chris Wiseman is interested in helping out with the Playbook Initiative. So if you can add him to your efforts, that would be great. Okay. Let me. So, Jim, I wanted to give you a chance to keep us updated on the AI and the fire service. Great job on getting that lesson 1 complete. Round of applause for Jim. He's moving us forward.
Alex,
I
did you get that machine going?
think somebody's not muted. Yeah, thank you. Jim, you want to do a check-in on where things stand since last meeting?
Sure. So I am still have to address the comments from lesson 1, but lesson 1 is pretty much ready to go. Lesson 2 is in draft and has gone through graphics review and gotten back to us. So I haven't had a chance to look at that yet. And I sent lesson 3 out for graphics review. So as I'm building out the content, I'm not really stressing graphically how it looks because I don't have the talent or the time to do that. But lesson 1 was the introductory lesson, kind of covered everything. Lesson 2 was a breakdown. Each of the subsequent lessons then will break down the stuff we talked about initially in lesson 1. So lesson 2 goes into more depth into change management and implementation strategies. And in lesson 2, we actually built a custom GPT for doing a SWOT analysis to manage your implementation process. And then in lesson 3, we start going into review and analysis of documents using AI. Just starting on lesson 4, which is about document generation and media generation. So that will be a really broad ranging topic. There'll be a lot going on there. But the overall goal is that the lessons run anywhere between 50 minutes, 30 minutes and 50 minutes, so that they could, when this is all done, it'll be 8 hours of training that could be taught in person live in a single day session. So, and working with, as Rich mentioned, fire engineering training to co-brand and co-host the material. They're one of the most reputable publications in the fire service, recognized. And I'm trying to work with everybody if I can. So we're not trying to limit it. One of the things I've put out as I've reached out to some of these fire service partners is I want this training to be offered for free. So we're not building content that you're going to charge for. You're helping us get the message out because it's that important for public safety to understand how powerful and how dangerous this can be from an ethics and reputation standpoint. So that's really our focus. Switching over to the PD side, which has been really interesting for me as I have exposure to PD from fire. I have family members who are retired police officers, but I'm now starting to get some good help connecting Katie and Steve Sircone, the retired fire chief. And now Dan, who's on the meeting today from Suisun, California, has chimed in and wants to help out. And I think I can help them I can help coalesce the group. I can help work on some of the technicalities for them, but what I really need from PD is the technical expertise and how to apply it to their environment. So their environment is way different than the fire and EMS world, and they have some different legal considerations than we do. So that'll kind of be the focus with the PD side as we get that rolling. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Public Safety Network is going to do for us. And as soon as we get that completely up and running, we'll be ready to start advertising it and pushing it out and hopefully get people engaged.
Great. Jim, thank you so much. And I want to give a shout out to Jim because he has been our trailblazer in many ways. And not only that, I believe he has a really nice approach in how he's done this. He has some very structured material that he worked on first before diving into these and designing this 8-hour course here. So I think he is a great resource for any of the other groups that are working on content to circle to and say, how do I take this idea that I have and crystallize it into a lesson plan and a series of courses if I need a series of courses, and breaking that down. And then how do I, start with one and build from that. He has some great stuff that he's working on and pushing simultaneously, and I'm really glad to hear about your involvement with the AI and police side to help get that organized as well. So really, thanks so much, Jim, for all your hard work in that.
How are we feeling about multilingual content?
um,
Build a translation chat GPT. There you go.
Well, 11 Lab, I actually there's one little video I did just for myself, and I shared it with some friends about using Gemini and Notebook LM for deep research. And
Yeah.
it's 5 minutes long. I was able to pop it into 11 Labs and spit out a Spanish version. Not only changed the audio, it didn't change the graphics, but the translation. And two of my kids are fairly fluent in Spanish. They went through it, said, "Yeah, it sounds pretty good." So I think we have AI tools that are available to us that we can pretty easily at least provide the audio in multiple languages if that's something that's important to us.
I like the idea of having multilingual products, actually. If we can accomplish something that, is accurate for sure.
I mean, personally, I think, right, I think focusing on getting the content out, making sure that we feel good on it, and then if it can be translated, yeah.
We would have to also translate the decks, correct? Like the actual words on the slide.
Yeah, and I haven't started playing with that. Again, it was just something I did on a whim, so it'll be a back burner project for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that, though. That's important for us to consider if we want to make these accessible to everybody. And just a quick shout out. I do want to give a shout out to Shari Lukman, who has been helping us on the graphics back end of that work. She's an ex instructional design intern that worked for me at Regional Government Services and has since moved on, but she's really eager to get involved in helping create the graphics aspects of our program. So she wants to continue to be involved. I've asked her to join if she can. We'll see if she does, but she's been a great resource to us as well. And just a quick update on Public Sector Network. The training is up on the page. I'm having a follow-up conversation with them because I think what happens is it starts looking like a social media feed, and I'm worried as content starts getting populated above it, it may get lost. So I'm trying to find a place to give a landing space where if you just want to go in here and get the fire training, you can get directed to it really easily. So that's the only side of where I'm working with them still before I want to bring it back here and show what that page looks like. And I've got a meeting. I'm trying to set up a meeting with Charlie from PSN to sort of figure out how we can organize that content in a different way, in addition to the sort of the social media feed. So that's the only holdup on the Public Sector Network right now. And then once we get that settled, we'll bring it back here and do a spin through the GovAI Coalition's page and talk that over with the group. So. Okay, what's next on our plate? AI education for policymakers. Quinn, as many of you who were here in the last meeting, Quinn came and gave us an overview of what he's hoping to accomplish with this specific training. Quinn, I wanted to open the floor to you to see, number one, if you had any updates or any follow-up you wanted from the last meeting. I did go back and watch your section. It was a great overview of what you're hoping to accomplish, and seemed like there were some great resources that were shared back and forth. But if there's anything you want to add, wanted to open the floor to you.
I think the two updates are we've met with some of the folks from National League of Cities, and they're sort of generally interested. So once we have something more specific, we'll follow up with them to see how we might be able to partner more directly. And then in the meantime, my colleague Maddie and I are putting together a more kind of detailed outline and like proposal of what format and all that this would take, that we're meeting with you, Rich, Sahir, and Albert in a couple of weeks to kind of go through that before we start actually fleshing it out more.
Great. All right, and maybe once we get that, we can circle that back to this group again for some additional feedback. That would be great. And that's great to hear about National League of Cities too. And who are they? And I don't remember that from the last session, but
Layla connected us with them since
right.
they've done a lot of their membership are like mayors or other elected officials in city governments. And so they've done their materials are behind a like membership paywall, but they've done some materials and engagement directly with electeds already. And so given their experience with that, they're sort of generally interested in this kind of thing and like might have some capacity to work on it more directly.
Great. And thanks, Albert, for dropping that link and resource in the chat. If people want to explore that and see the groups that we might be partnering with on that content. So thanks, Quinn. And if anybody is interested in this specific training, oh, sorry, my busy Outlook calendar.
Yeah, and I can just I could just say on NLC, that's, you know, City of San Jose, it is a known quantity. Like, I think that's a great place to connect with, especially if we're thinking about getting in the not only the attention or the, you know, the ear of the electeds, but also I think their attention, because I think NLC does grab attention pretty well. And I'll note Chris Wiseman noted this. We can work with them, but also thinking about potentially sharing with the National Association of Counties, maybe once we're a little more fleshed out with it, as like a second stage.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We separately have talked to their staff on just like our own organizational stuff, so it'd be very easy for me to reach out to them whenever we have something like you're saying to share.
Great. And just as always with all these projects, if anybody in this meeting is interested in jumping onto that team and helping with building out some content for policymakers and electeds, please, either throw your name in the chat or let us know outside the meeting. We'd be happy to connect you with Quinn and Maddie. Thank you, Quinn. Okay, we are also building out this AI insurance and risk management. I don't know if Heather's on the call today. I haven't seen through here. She was on the last call. Heather is working with the entity MESAC, which a lot of people in California will know, is a municipal I'm not going to remember the acronym, but it's a collection of municipal IT professionals, and they are working on AI training as well, and sort of have done similar to what the coalition is doing, forming some work groups and thinking about how they can educate people that are in their members and in their areas. And she was thinking of some synergy that might exist between what we're trying to build around insurance and risk management and some of the things that they're doing in some of their groups. And so are really interested in thinking about how we might merge those efforts and partner with them on content and, reduce the load from each of our agencies and maybe work on something collaboratively. So I'll follow up more with her outside the meeting, but she had some really good ideas about how we might partner with them. She's over, I'm not going to remember the committee she's over, but she has a committee she chairs through MESAC that seems to align with some of our content as well. So we'll look for more information about that. And is Nicole on the call?
Hi there, I am. I was able to join, but not too long ago.
Okay, and I just wanted to give you some space if you have any updates or anything that's been going on outside of the meetings that you wanted to update the rest of the group on. I know we were sort of planning to circle back, I think sometime in June, but I just want to give you the floor if you had any content or something that you wanted to share with the group around this.
No new developments at this time on our side. So
Okay.
I think we're just looking to get that next meeting scheduled, and then hopefully we'll have some more traction at that time.
Okay, great. And this is obviously, this training is all focused on, how we can, think about insurance and risk elements as we implement AI. And this is going to be an area that's going to continue to grow as, AI is going to make mistakes, and mistakes might introduce risks and might introduce potential litigation or things that might, impact insurance with agencies. So we're thinking about, how can we educate people? What do we need to get in place to help them understand how to reduce risk, or demonstrate that they've thought through all the elements that might impact things like risk management and their insurance with their providers around risk. So it's um, very interesting content that I think is going to be, as it shapes up, will be really helpful to people in a whole different aspect, but really helpful to people. And I'm seeing in the chat, Lon would like to connect with Misak. I'll loop you into that, Lon, with the Misak and Heather. So okay. The other elements we have are our CISO training. I always have problems saying that. Albert, are there any updates on the CISO with Bloomberg? I think we're planning.
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. We'll follow up with them and bring any further updates to the group. And then the other thing that is happening in the background is potential HR and AI training. Quinn connected us with one of his coworkers at the Center for Democracy and Technology, Matt. He and I have been playing email tag on trying to find a time to connect, and we were thinking tomorrow. If not, it'll probably be next week, where we can finally get a chance to sit down and talk about some potential HR and AI related training. And we see some potential nexus there with our risk management efforts. So we will more to come on both of these projects as they shore up, but no immediate updates. And I think the other thing that we introduced last time, that Sahara and I have been working on, is this quarterly introductory webinar that you saw when we walked through our objective and key results. And as I mentioned, this is a webinar that we would provide for other new members of the coalition, helping them get started with the resources, getting connected and signed up to work on committees. We have this tentatively scheduled for the week of June 23rd. I think we were trying to get this done by the end of the second quarter of this year. Sahara and I had a sub meeting outside of this group and sort of drafted up a rough timeline for us on this. And we are going to be moving this along, hoping to get us to that June date. But we're also interested in if there are people who would be interested in helping out. And again, this is sort of taking our training and focusing it inward at the coalition. So if anybody is interested in helping us out with that work and doing this introductory webinar that we can provide to members of the coalition, please let me know and we will get connected. Does anybody have any questions about this quarterly webinar or any of our projects? I just realized I've been talking a lot of time, so I want to open the floor up to other people. Okay, well, if you have any questions or are interested in any of these, please let me know. And that is going to bring us to the end of our slide deck. I always have this at the end. We are always looking for training materials, whether it's a draft or something you've developed for your agencies. Part of the strength of this coalition is sharing of resources so that we lighten the load of our work. So if you have some materials around AI that you have trained your workforce on, or anything with sub work groups within your organization. They can be either draft or things that you presented or other resources you found. We'd love to collect those and capture those in our AI education folder. So you can always visit that in the SharePoint or the team space. There are a lot of existing trainings that are there, so that if you don't want to start from scratch, you can, dive through that. I've used several of them. We did something around cybersecurity. There was a cybersecurity training in the education folder that City of San Jose had put together. And we didn't use the full presentation, but we took what applied to our agency, and it was so much easier than starting from scratch. So there's a lot of things in there that our members can use and help reposition for what they need in their agency. And then the other thing I always like to promote is this AI education landscape. This is a collection of trainings that have been curated. This was started when we first formed the working group by Giselle from AI Procurement Labs. She put together really nice resources. It's just a collection of trainings on AI for local government and public sector focused training for employees of public sector. And it's very detailed. It has, a lot of information about the training, what the purpose is, whether there's a cost. There's links to all of the trainings in the database, and you can sort of, visit any of those to evaluate whether they would be helpful for you or for your agency or somebody at your agency. So it's a great resource. There's also a comments tab on that you can select from our list of trainings and give us feedback on how effective you thought the training was. Was it a good resource? Would you recommend it to other people? So that's an ongoing resource that we like to promote and encourage people to dive in and use. And as always, as Albert and I have both said today, please share any of your project ideas with us. If you want to jump into any project, if you have an idea that you don't see represented in any of our list of projects, we really encourage you to jump in and participate in any way that you want. And I see a couple of things in the share. Let's see. Tony Fernandez, interested in joining the webinar. Great. Thank you, Tony. I will make sure to loop you into that project with Sahar and I. Quinn is referencing the Innovate US. Yes, we use them at our agency, and they are on our list for AI education landscape. So glad to see they're having some new content for legal professionals. Albert, it looks like somebody's asking to share the SharePoint page for the group. Is that they access the team space?
I'm pulling that up right now. Thank you.
Okay. And Eric, I'm new to the group. I'm working on practical application examples of Copilot for our company. There is actually a Copilot training in the AI education folder that talks about implementation of Copilot. I don't know that we have a specific team, but I know there's training in there. Albert, is there anything else coalition-wide that you know of that addresses Copilot? Any of the use cases or anything like that?
I can say that there's a variety of use cases, even shared on our website around just different applications of something like a generative AI tool like that, Copilot, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever you want to call it. And then I just posted the training there in the chat, and then I'm going to share the general link for our education working group right in a moment, or our committee in a moment.
Great, thank you.
Rich and
Yes.
Albert, a quick question about the artifacts and project outcomes documentation. So do we store our content in a space so that say the AAA and tool aid on complexity could also point at it, or do we publish them in the group of a use case, work with them and publish the content with them? What do you think is the best way?
I don't know, Albert, I was thinking maybe in the larger readiness and adoption committee, that upskilling could have a folder there to work from. I know it's going to bridge a lot with use cases, but that might be a good starting place for them.
Yeah, let me make I'll put a folder in our education. We have the education folder, and so I'll just put it in there as another workspace.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you so much. And we are at the end of what I have for today. We have a few minutes left. If anybody wants to comment or share or ask any questions, this is a great time to do that. Raise your hand or throw a question in the chat if you have any. I'm not hearing a lot. Okay, well, I'm not going to force it, so. But hopefully this was a lot of great information. Thank you for everybody that is jumping into these projects and gave check-ins today, and we'll keep following up on all of our project teams as we move forward and for future meetings. Again, I will send a meeting summary after this meeting, and we will, if you see anything or if you have thought about anything since this meeting, I know it's a lot of information to get all at once, but as you mull on this, let us know if you're interested in anything and participating in these teams. And just a really quick summary of what Albert has said before in meetings, joining up and raising your hand for these teams can mean a lot of different things. It doesn't mean you have to run the whole ship, steer the whole ship. It's, we are looking for people that can help us generate content, but also people that can help us be sounding boards and review potential content, who might want to take a piece of a project. So raising your hand doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a significant time investment. But the more people we get in a working group, obviously, the faster we can move it along and get feedback and review cycles done. So there's different ways that you can participate if you want. So, just let us know if you're interested and then how you want to participate, and we can go from there. So I will thank everybody for a great meeting, and I hope you have a great time. We will see you in 2 weeks at noon on, what is that actually? We will be kicking off on June 4th, it looks like, in 2 weeks. So I'll see everybody on the 4th. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And Marina, I just responded to your message. Yeah, if anyone else wants to join, just have them fill out the form.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, take care.